It's midday in Dakar and Bissau and 1 p.m. in Lagos. Good afternoon and thank you for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world at wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. First, our top stories. Transitional authorities in Guinea-Bissau set December 6, 2026 for presidential and legislative elections.
If they organize this election, does it mean that we will have the same scenario as Gabon, Guinea-Conakry? Will they organize elections and not contest?
Senegal's outgoing Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces, General Sisi, arrives in the Gambia to reinforce security cooperation. Nigerians expressed disappointment with security operatives over denial of abduction of worshippers in Kaduna.
Over the past couple of weeks and months, we've seen the increase in banditry, kidnappings and all that.
They blatantly lied to us. How are we supposed to trust them in the future?
And Ghana's multidimensional poverty index report shows a steady decline in poverty. Please stay tuned for details of the stories and more.
On the news, this is a More Edit.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast. Let's begin in Guinea-Bissau as the military has published an electoral calendar month after the November 26, 2025 coup. According to the timetable, presidential and legislative elections are scheduled to be held on December 6, 2026. The announcement on Wednesday followed talks between military officers and an ECOWAS delegation led by its chairperson, President Julius Maada Bio, and Senegal's Bashir Diomaye Faye in Bissau weeks ago. Sankli Janko has more details in this report.
The election date by Transitional President Major General Hotan Ntam in a decree issued in Bissau cited the transitional charter adopted in November 2025. The charter guarantees free, fair and transparent polls. In this context, Frederick Kwadi Ndeki, a regional governance expert, says the junta needs to put its house in order to fully implement the charter.
How are they organizing these elections with some of the opposition leaders who are still in jail, like Domingo Simon Pereira and some of his companions? Fernando Diaz is still in the Nigerian embassy in Bissau. If they organize this election, does it mean that we will have the same scenario as Gabon, Guinea-Conakry? Will they organize elections and not be contesting? All those things are to be clarified.
While the high-level ECOWAS mission to Bissau earlier this month by Sierra Leone's Maada Bio, the bloc's current chair, alongside ECOWAS Commission President Omar Aliou Touré and Senegal's President Bassirou Diomaye Faye, did not declare full details of the mediation talks. They demanded a short and consensual transition. Ndeki argues that the success of Guinea-Bissau's transition and preventing a repeat of the November 26 coup will depend on this process.
They need to hold a sincere dialogue which can lead to elections and bring the country back to normal order. They need a mediation from external institutions. It can be the AU, it can be ECOWAS. They need a mediator in that country if they want to do something serious.
It is also worth noting that the military authorities in Bissau recently approved a constitutional amendment, a move challenged by civil society and political groups, which have yet to react to the announced election timetable. Meanwhile, alongside ECOWAS, rights groups continue to demand the release of all political prisoners and the protection of state institutions.
Sankli Janko filed the report. In Guinea, President Mamadi Doumbouya has announced that he is dedicating his mandate to women and young people. The president says this commitment will place the concerns of these two social groups at the center of government priorities. While the announcement has been widely welcomed by Guinean women, many say they are now waiting for concrete action on issues affecting them. These include respect for gender parity in the future government, stronger promotion of women's rights, and an effective fight against gender-based violence. Augustine Kohli completes the story.
Mahawa Silla, a market trader at Ratoma, welcomed the announcement that women will play a central role in the future governance of President Mamadi Doumbouya. She nonetheless urged the authorities to pay special attention to women in the informal sector, particularly by improving support mechanisms and access to administrative permits.
In Guinea, taking power means reaching out to women and young people. The president's choice is a positive one, placing women at the center of governance. We therefore urge him to act to reduce the cost of living for households and to create job opportunities for young people.
Kadiatu Konate, former coordinator of the Guinean Young Women Leaders Club, said the president's commitment must be backed by concrete action. She pointed to the need to uphold gender parity, tackle gender-based violence, and promote the economic and social empowerment of women.
Through this mandate, we call for concrete measures to protect and promote the rights of girls and women in Guinea. This includes inclusive appointments that respect gender parity, allocating budgets to support families, strengthening child protection services, providing full and free care for victims of gender-based violence, developing economic opportunities for women, and helping women formalize their initiatives so they can fully apply their skills for the country's economic development.
Following the presidential announcement, several women's groups and feminist organizations in Guinea say they are preparing a memorandum for General Mamadi Doumbouya, outlining their key concerns and recommendations.
Augustine Curley voiced their report as filed in by WDL's Chenafa Ramabadi in Conakry.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Crossing to the Gambia, where President Adama Barrow received the outgoing Chief of the General Staff of the Senegalese Armed Forces at the State House in Banjul. Jerome Baye Cissé's visit served as a farewell courtesy at the conclusion of his term. During the meeting, President Barrow commended General Cissé for his service and personal dedication to strengthening defense and security ties between the Gambia and Senegal. WDL's Banjul correspondent Sangdana Mendy has the rest of the story.
Since the Defense and Security Cooperation Agreement was signed in Dakar in March 2017, the Gambia and Senegal have progressively strengthened their military ties. The partnership has enabled historic joint border patrols to combat armed bandit, drug and human trafficking and other cross-border crimes. Speaking during his farewell visit, the outgoing Chief of Staff of the Senegalese Armed Forces, General Baye Cissé, stressed his country's commitment to regional peace, praising the warmth and cooperation of Gambian forces.
As you know, Senegal is very engaged in the stabilization in the peace process in Gambia. Since 2017, we have deployed here military contingent, and it was an opportunity for us to renew our commitment to this regional peace.
For his part, Lieutenant General Mahmoud Ocham, Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces, described the military cooperation between Banjul and Dakar as a practical, hands-on working relationship.
We have for the first time been able to talk among ourselves through the auspices of our Defense and Security Agreement and had been able to organize joint patrols along our common border.
Senegal's General Baye Cissé's visit highlights the long-standing ties between Senegal and the Gambia from colonial times through independence, with continued collaboration in trade, security and regional development. In 2024, the two neighbors carried out a historic 3-day joint patrol across 30 villages along the North Bank border, marking one of the largest coordinated security operations in recent memory. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sangdana Mendy, reporting from Banjul.
In other news, Burkina Faso has confirmed the extradition of former transitional leader Paul Henry Sandaogo Damiba. In a statement, the Minister of Justice said he arrived in Ouagadougou on January 17, following an international arrest warrant issued 2 weeks earlier. But what risk does the former leader face given the charges against him? Abdullah provides an analysis.
The former transitional president and ex-Lieutenant Colonel Paul Henry Sandaogo Damiba has returned to Ouagadougou after more than 3 years in exile. He was extradited from Togo, where he had been living since his removal from power. He was overthrown on September 30 by Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the current transitional president of Faso. According to a statement from Justice Minister Edaso Rodrigue Bayala, several charges have been brought against the former officer who was dismissed from the Burkinabe army. These include preparatory acts against the safety and security of the state, embezzlement of public funds, incitement to commit offences, and money laundering. These acts are punishable under the Penal Code revised in December 2024 and December 2025. Does the ex-leader face the death penalty? Yes, according to the 2025 law revision, but only if the judge finds him guilty. The December revised law, which introduced the death penalty, specifically targets acts that threaten state security, including treason, espionage, and terrorism. However, Togo says it received formal guarantees from Burkinabe authorities regarding the physical integrity and dignity of Paul Henry Sandogo Damiba, ruling out the death penalty. If convicted, the December 2024 revisions will apply instead. For offences against state security, penalties range from 1 to 10 years, with criminal sentences of up to 20 years. For economic crimes such as embezzlement and money laundering, sentences range from 6 months to 10 years in prison, along with fines amounting to several millions of CFA francs. It should be noted that the former transitional president is not the only person implicated. According to Burkinabe authorities, the latest attempted coup involved several military personnel and civilians, some of whose confessions were recently broadcast on national television.
That was WDR's Martin Carver's analysis presented by Abdullahi Hassan. In Nigeria, there is a growing disappointment among Nigerians following the confirmation of an adoption in the northwestern state of Kaduna. Authorities, including security operatives, had the initial report of the mass abduction in Kajuru local government of the state. The confirmation on Wednesday, however, now raises concerns about the ability of the government and the security apparatus to manage worsening insecurity. WDR's Yechino Sasich in Abuja reports.
After days of uncertainty and conflicting reports, the Nigeria Police Force confirmed that an abduction did take place in a community in Kajuru local government area of Kaduna State. The confirmation has sparked disappointment among Nigerians.
Over the past couple of weeks and months, we've seen the increase in banditry, kidnappings and all that.
And the height of it is that initially it was debunked. It really says a lot about how careless and lackadaisical the security operatives are in all these communities.
They blatantly lied to us. How are we supposed to trust them in the future?
You hear of deaths and deaths and deaths, and right now it just feels like the Nigerian life does not matter.
Reacting to the development, Regional Security Director at Trans-Intelligence, Chris Otieno, says withholding or delaying information during security incidents undermines national trust.
Security is built on very firm foundations where we can offer or render services, or we can respond and the other persons will take note of what we are doing and build trust between ourselves and them.
Otieno adds that restoring confidence requires honesty, accountability and visible action to protect citizens.
We need to move very fast to ensure that we are doing everything within our powers. We have resources, we have manpower, we have tactics, we have weapons, we have everything to make sure that we're going out to respond and prevent any further kidnappings.
As investigations continue, many Nigerians say rebuilding trust will depend not only on improved security operations, but on truthful and timely communication during moments of national concern. For WADR, Yechini Sasitu reporting.
On labor matters in Liberia, former timber workers on Wednesday led a demonstration near the presidential residence over the government's failure to release long overdue payments. The workers are demanding $7 million in unpaid benefits, salaries and compensation. Their protest underscores wider concerns about economic justice and the state's responsibility to honor commitments to citizens who supported the country's post-conflict logging industry. WDR's Monrovia correspondent Abraham Parker reports.
James Johnson, the group's spokesperson, said workers have exhausted their patience after nearly 2 decades of waiting. He stressed that they are appealing directly to President Buakai to intervene and ensure that funds already approved for disbursement are released without further delay.
Over 19 years, going to 20 years, we are still perambulating in the corridor as a citizen in this country that work with the former foreign workers. People have died over the years. Their beneficiaries are yet to receive their money. Why must you be evil? 2 times we made the president in office.
The group's chairman, Robert Deputy, added to the concerns accusing the Minister of Finance of obstructing the payment process. He said the workers are determined to remain until their demands are met.
We, the former forest workers, under the banner of National Wood for Social and Allied Worker Union, we have gone to finance over 12 times on the money issue. So we deem it necessary to come with our petition this morning to the President. We are talking about 23,452 former forest workers across the country.
The situation is further complicated by the fact that many of the original workers have since died, leaving their beneficiaries to continue the struggle for justice. In September 2025, the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning confirmed that the outstanding payments will be made directly to individual workers rather than to any organization. However, the funds remain inaccessible, fueling mistrust and the triggering Wednesday's protest. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
You're listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal, and online at wadr.org. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Transitional authorities in Guinea-Bissau set December 6, 2026 for presidential and legislative elections. Senegal's outgoing Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces, General Cisse, arrives in the Gambia to reinforce security cooperation. Nigerians expressed disappointment with security operatives over denial of abduction of worshippers in Kaduna. And still ahead in the news, Ghana's multidimensional poverty index report shows a steady decline. We do have the press review, a guest interview, and sports news. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
We are streaming live on wadr.org, YouTube, and Facebook. Ghana's latest multidimensional poverty index report shows a steady decline in multidimensional poverty, with more than 300,000 people moving out of poverty within a single quarter. However, the report by the Ghana Statistical Service indicates that deep rural and regional inequalities, along with poor living conditions and health-related challenges, continue to affect millions across the country. From Accra, Nadi Detete reports.
According to the Ghana Statistical Service, multidimensional poverty declined from nearly 25% at the end of 2024 to just under 22% by September 2025. This means the number of people facing multiple deprivations such as poor housing, lack of sanitation, limited access to healthcare, education, and employment fell from about 8.2 million to roughly 7.2 million people. Notably, over 360,000 people exited poverty between the second and third quarters of 2025 alone. Despite this progress, the report highlights persistent inequality. Poverty remains more than twice as high in rural areas compared to urban centers. Regionally, the Northeast and Savannah regions continue to record the highest poverty levels, with more than half of their populations affected, while Greater Accra and Western regions remain the least affected. The report identifies health insurance gaps, poor nutrition, unstable employment, school attendance challenges, overcrowded housing, and inadequate sanitation as the strongest drivers of poverty. It also warns of emerging risks, including rising housing congestion and school attendance deprivation, which could undermine recent gains. The Ghana Statistical Service says targeted investment in health coverage, living conditions, education retention, and job creation are critical to sustaining progress and ensuring no community is left behind. For WADR, Nadidi Tete, Accra.
This is the Newspaper Review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the Newspaper Review.
The Newspaper Review.
Well, let's remain in Accra as we join Nadia Ditete for the Newspaper Review.
Greetings, welcome to the Newspaper Review segment. We'll start off with the Daily Graphic newspaper front page. Non-traditional export up by 41%. Ministry of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry targets $10 billion by 2030. Nearly 1 million people exit poverty. Also here, statements on global issues, not foreign policy shift. That's according to the Foreign Affairs Minister. Also here, Ghana committed to expanding relations with China. That's according to the Vice President. The Ghanaian Times newspaper front page, government assesses assesses 5 defunct SOEs for revamping and a rapid industrialization for jobs initiatives, as according to the Trades Minister. Also here, use of 20 Peswa coin declines in Accra and multi-dimensional